All right. So this is the one that created the whole controversy, as far as I'm concerned, Len.
Yeah.
And look, you did your studies, you had your data, you analyzed your data. Uber may say, "Wait, that's not enough sample size. They didn't factor this in. They didn't factor that in." If your data has all the pass-throughs in there, hey, you know what, Uber, keep it simple then. No need. Do what Lyft is doing. So this is the one that created a lot of the controversy, that your little parabolic red line going towards the sky. So let's talk a little bit about this. What's up with this?
What's up with this? Well, we missed a little gnawing detail in between the last chart and this, and that is that there was a what Dara Khosrowshahi rightfully called a seismic shift that occurred in 2022, and that was the fact that the U.S. Federal Reserve began reversing what had been a zero interest policy, or rate policy, ZIRP as it's often called in the industry.
Yep.
And the big thinkers on Wall Street really lost patience with what had been high growth but money losing companies, and that fit the bill to Uber. Almost, you could say they were the paragon of that, having lost more money than any company ever, but growing like a weed the whole time. So Dara issued a well-crafted memo, and I think he really, hit the nail on the head, and to all of his employees, and said, "Look, we just got to put a lot more focus on profitability than we ever had before, and prove that we can make our unit economics work before we go big." I think it was the phrase he used. And coincidentally or not, I wasn't in the room where it happened, but coincident with just about that time, Uber began piloting and then rolling out a new driver pay policy, as has often been called upfront fares plus destination. And this now extended what they already had done on the passenger side, decoupling the setting of passenger fares strictly based on a rate card of miles and minutes, now extended over on the driver pay side. So we're no longer going to have a rate card. The whole meaning of what base pay is now meaningless. It basically says there's a whole variety of factors. We're using some very sophisticated AI algorithms, using a lot of factors that are undefined that go into the fact that when a driver now, since that time, has gotten a price offer, do you want to take this trip or not? You're an independent contractor, your call. It's a number. There it is. Take it or leave it. And it includes any and all boosts and bonuses. Big number, easy to see. There were some great things about the new policy. It was a lot simpler to kind of do the math, in your head, at least to see what the total number would be. You were given the destination address for the first time. You were given an estimate of the time to do the trip, both to the pickup point and then to deliver the passenger to the end point. All of those were very, very helpful and appreciated by drivers. Yep. However, it now gave Uber tremendous discretionary control over setting driver pay. And the other kind of important feature is that if a driver was given an offer and for whatever reason, driver deemed it was an unattractive pay offer or didn't like the destination and rejected it, the trip offer could go into this trip radar function where multiple drivers are now bidding against each other. Who's the first one to accept what could be a pretty unattractive offer to many drivers, if not, so it really got to the point of saying, why should Uber, if I were in their shoes with this new policy, why should I pay what I would have paid off a minimum rate card if I can find a driver who's willing to take something lower with just this upfront price that I throw out? Right. He's willing to take it, free choice. I'm putting it out there. So it gave them the opportunity to lower their overall pricing. And now we have this tremendous discretion on both sides of what price I charge an individual passenger, what I pay an individual driver. And in essence, you can maximize your take or your margin on every single trip. Because every trip's kind of a new ball game, and you have the control over both sides. So that's what's reflected here. And what I did is use two data sources to generate this chart. The driver pay data came from a company called Gridwise that offers drivers a range of financial support and planning tools if the driver agrees to share their login credentials with all the gig companies with whom they work. And in return, Gridwise can assemble all of this data and analyze it, give information back to the driver, but also have this aggregate database that they could, sell to outsiders or provide to outsiders like myself. And they generally collect about 2 million trip observations per quarter for Uber drivers. And what I asked them to do was give me the average price per trip, also price per mile and price per hour, but I focused mostly on what you see here on the Uber price per trip. And this represents the total pay during a given quarter to all of their 2 million drivers in that quarter, including all base pay, whatever that means anymore, all bonuses, all incentives, and excluding tips. And I just sort of took those average points for each quarter. And then on the top line, the green line, that's the blue, I was just describing the blue line. The green line is from another data services company called Yipit. And they have a kind of an email panel where they have tens and tens of thousands of passengers who are willing to share their transaction, credit card price transaction history, not just for Uber, but for all kinds of products and services. And Yipit assembles about a 500,000 Uber trip records per quarter. So millions over the course of the period you see here. And this, again, is exactly what I wanted to get access to define take rates, as we've already discussed. It is the total price, net of any discounts. If the price involved the discount, get that out and take tips out. It's just what did Uber pay the driver all in for a given trip, and what's the average across these 500,000 per quarter trips.
Right.
And so what you see happening here is that kind of vertical line right going down the spine, the center of this chart, is about the time when the upfront fare plus destination was pretty much rolled out nationally throughout the US. And from that point forward, pricing didn't change that much. Most of the price increases I showed earlier kicked in by 2021, and they've pretty much kind of stayed level between 21, $22 per ride on average since then. But you see a much different pattern on the driver pay side, that it was actually increasing a bit. And then starting this calendar year, quarter 1, 2, 3, down it came in a very noticeable fashion. And by my estimate, year on year, if you take the average driver pay from all forms per trip, quarter 3, 2023, the most recent quarter Uber reported, and compare it to the year ago, third quarter of the prior year, the average price per trip declined by about 12%, 11.9 to be exact.
Yeah. Well,
so,
the blog post that they put up actually has an interesting graph in it that we're not going to put up this week, but we'll talk about it next week. It clearly shows that average earnings, because Uber talks with active time or utilized time or book time hours. It's been coming down for 9 quarters in a row. The active per hour is down to 32 now. Was 39, and they put up the graph themselves. So there's no secret. Driver pay, even with their matrix, is coming down. However, so this, I understand where Uber can disagree with what they're saying. However, I put up one more chart. I don't know if it's in this segment, Chris, or the stock chart that we had that I had put up. Is that in this segment? Yeah. All right. So everybody, I need you to pay attention, real quick attention to this. Okay. This is a stock chart of Uber going back 5 years, actually, to their IPO. As you guys can see, stock fluctuated between 40 and 20. During the pandemic, it crashed to 20. Then during the pandemic, actually, it went all the way to 60. And then it kind of, waterfall effect all the way down back to 20 again, towards right about the middle of 2022. Look, to me, pictures are again worth 1,000 words. The bottom of the stock, it happens to coincide with the national rollout or upfront fares. And ironically, Professor, your chart, the take rate chart, is looking exactly like the stock price. The higher the take rate goes, the higher the stock is going. And personally speaking, this is my personal opinion only, so nobody get offended at Uber about this, is that the bottom of the Uber price, Uber stock price, coinciding with the release of upfront fares is not a coincidence for me. I think it had everything to do with it. And the fact that it continues, all-time highs at 62 now, at $125 billion market cap company, had everything to do with Uber releasing upfront fares. Because like the professor correctly stated, it completely, totally decoupled what the passenger paid from what the driver received. And, they should take a victory lap, to be honest with you, but on whose back? On the driver's back. And this is where we are. So, honestly, Len, I mean, look, this was a master class into our audience, because look, our audience doesn't maybe understand financials as deep as I do, or I definitely don't get it as deep as you do. But it definitely stirred emotions in the driver community, because they were saying that this is what we've been seeing anyway. The professor could have written this article by just talking to drivers, but you didn't. Obviously, what you did is you collected a whole bunch of data, as much as you can get your hands on, and did your article. So I commend you for it. I think you become a hero of the driver community. To be perfectly honest with you, I've never seen anything like this, go viral or I mean, most of the time you will have two opinions on an article, right? There'll be obviously people who applaud, and there'll be people who boo you, right? I've never seen this one-sided commentary on anything that I've ever read, ever. And it was unequivocally agreeing with you. So I'll give you a few more minutes at the end. I think you did some justice to a lot of drivers who've been saying this. And, the question is, what can be done to reverse this trend? Do you have any advice? I know you're not a driver, but do you have any advice?
Well, I guess the question is, who has to sort of rethink the way they are approaching this business? I've been a consultant for most of my life. This academic thing is just a second act for me. So I was in the business where companies used to pay extortionate amounts of money to get advice, and I'm out of that business. So no one's asking for advice, and certainly not paying for me to give advice. But I'll give some advice to both the company Uber and to its driver community. I honestly believe that what the company has done to turn around its financial performance is exactly what a logical and effective CEO could and should have done. And in the article I wrote before this one that came out earlier in the year, before I had access to all the data you referred to, I speculated. At that time, it was very early in the game of the new pricing driver pay policy. And I speculated that with the newfound control that Uber now had on both sides of its marketplace, it had the opportunity and the need to sort of put into place new math. I think that was the title of the article, Uber's new math to raise prices and squeeze driver pay. And I said in that article, I would probably do the same thing if I were in Dara Khosrowshahi's shoes. There's nothing illegal or immoral or anything else. I mean, a business is in business to make money, and it has the opportunity and the need. Here's my thing. I believe the biggest advantage that Uber has in this business is it knows more about its customers and its drivers than any company in the world. Yep. It has more data, more knowledge, and arguably more sophisticated AI routines to make the most of that data, to try to extract the price that customers are willing to pay, and pay that a driver will accept. And I don't begrudge that at all. Matter of fact, that's what an effective CEO should do. So my advice is not so much to change that. No, it's working. It's doing great. Keep it up. I just feel that the corporate communications of this company and the way it communicates with certainly its driver stakeholder group, but to the world at large, I think underestimates the intelligence and the dedication of drivers. And that to me is the biggest mistake that is easily fixable. I mean, there's nothing to be ashamed of what they're doing. They're running a business. They're in a business to make money. Passengers are willing to pay the prices they're charging, and drivers are willing to take the trips that they're being paid for. So just be straight and clear the way everyone else is communicating in this industry. And I tell you, I've been overwhelmed by the response. I've gotten hundreds of emails and text messages and seen posts on Reddit, and I don't use Facebook, but hundreds. And I've just been blown away with kind of the intelligence of saying, thank you for trying to clarify what we've been trying to, for being our voice, basically. And I appreciate the praise, but I think Uber's been its own worst enemy on this, to be exact. And I want to share one. I have a whole slew, but I won't waste your audience's time. But just a couple of notes that have been sent to me, email and the like. Dara gave a talk, and I referenced this talk in the article. In late October, he was interviewed on stage by Kara Swisher, who's one of the most well-known and respected tech reporters, covers the tech industry and has for 2 decades. And she's always known as asking tough questions, and so she gave Dara a pretty good grilling on stage. It was her typical performance. And Dara, I've said to a lot of folks, including Uber execs, I consider Dara the most effective corporate communicator I've ever seen. I've never seen someone handle quarterly earnings reports or interviews on stage or social media accounts. I mean, he's just amazingly smooth, effective, likable, et cetera, et cetera. And but he on that stage, when asked specifically about take rates, and the interviewer said, I've been hearing driver complaints that you're taking, more and more of the passenger fare. Dara said, looking, straight out at the audience, it was a tech conference, not a driver conference, and said, our take rate in the U.S. in the most recent quarter was 15% after we sort of take out our commercial insurance payments, which of course are really high. But I think that's fair, because that's, that we're providing a lot of service. There happened to be one tech executive there who used to be an Uber driver and an Uber employee. And she yelled out from the balcony in this 1,400 seat, packed theater, you're a liar. Feelings were running very high, but I think this is an example that drivers feel that they're just not being heard. I mean, everyone in Uber knows how drivers define take rate. It's not complicated. It's not rocket science. And to just kind of deny their feelings instead of saying, hey, our costs are going up, we're doing it. When you put that number out, it just drives folks batty. And so she wrote me, the woman who called that out. And here's her short note. She said, Len, I'm the ex-Uber driver and ex-Uber employee who called Dara a liar from the balcony at the Castro Theater during Kara Swisher's interview at the tech conference. And your article explains why so well. Thank you. Dara is a good person, but I wrote him and Kara that he needs to revise his talking points about take rates. So that's my advice to Uber. Just be straight up with your community. Yep. And I think everyone would be better off, including Uber, and most notably Uber, but certainly I think drivers would feel more respected, and they deserve to be. And then as for drivers, well, you guys are the voice of
drivers. That covered.
you guys are the voice of drivers about show me the money and know your worth and all that. And look, everyone's got to look out for their own interests. Drivers have to, Uber has to, but I just urge all sides to be straight with each other, and I think everyone would be better off. That's all I would have to say.
Well, here, if you were my professor at college, I would have never ended college. Let me tell you that. But audience, we have 440. I can't even see 440 people. Give Len Sherman, professor at Columbia University, a hand. I mean, He couldn't be more eloquent, and he wrote the article. He took some heat from, up top probably. But look, this is the article, people. If you guys have not read it yet, unless you're hiding in some rock, this is it. Uber CEO hires driver pay cuts to boost profits. He did what he had to do, but drivers have to do what they have to do, and they have to, make a living and put food on the table. And Len, I think you said it best. Be honest with each other. And the thing is, this is the problem I see, Len. And there's a massive disconnect going on between the community and the C-suites, right? Look, they're running corporate entities, hundreds of billions of dollars of equity at stake. We're running our businesses, and we need to make money. And none of these people are facing the pressure that the driver is facing to pay rent, to pay the car note, to buy gas, in fact, or to pay the cell phone bill. We depend on Uber for us to make money, period. But it doesn't have to be this convoluted, Uber. It doesn't have to be this complicated. Yes, on your end, it may be complicated. But I agree with Professor Sherman 100%. You brought this upon yourselves. You don't need to do this. Just be straight up. We're intelligent people out here. We're smart people. We know math as well as you do. And this doesn't need to be this way. And a lot of people depend on Uber for their livelihood, for their family's well-being. Treat us with respect. Treat us that we're human. I don't see that. And that's where the disconnect is. And hopefully, Len, we're changing things. Trust me. Last time you were here, we had 60 people watching. Today, we have 450 people watching, right? And this is going to be watched by thousands in about, probably 24 hours. And if everybody shares your message, I think we're going to have a lot more success because our voices are getting louder. So let's give a hand to our guest, Mr. Len Sherman, professor at Columbia University. Much love. You're our new hero. You can come back anytime you want. We don't need to schedule anything with you now.
Well, it was great being with you guys, and I wish you the best. You're doing good work.
Thank you. We're trying. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Len.
Okay.
Any last comments before we?
Oh, I think, I when you teach in college, when you kind of run your course with the audience. So I think we're done here, at least on my side. You got a lot going on in the rest of your show. So why don't you get it?
All right. Well, thank you for coming on and, kind of explaining a little bit more when it comes to the article and, your information on it. So appreciate that. And we'll see you next time.
Okay. Take care now.
All right. Thanks for watching. That short little clip was from our live stream, Show Me the Money Club with Sergio and myself, Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you subscribe, turn on all notifications so you'll be notified when we go live, as well as all of our awesome content. Make sure to check out this video right here, which will take you to the entire live stream, or check out this video right there. All right. Drive smart, everyone.